For over a century, the majestic Roman state was governed by powerful emperors, but only one was destined to enter history as the first to take the reins of power directly from his own father. This man was Titus, whose ascension to the throne was marked not only by unprecedented succession but also by the indomitable bravado that characterized his short but eventful reign. It was forever etched into the memory of descendants by two monumental events: the grand opening of the Flavian amphitheater in the heart of Rome, now known as the Colosseum, a symbol of imperial grandeur and spectacle, and the terrifying eruption of Mount Vesuvius, which brought unimaginable destruction and devastation to the flourishing Bay of Naples. These two events, one a triumph of human genius, the other a merciless display of natural force, became iconic milestones in his brief but unforgettable era, foreshadowing both glory and tragedy. The story of this remarkable figure began in 39 CE, during the reign of the eccentric and unpredictable Emperor Caligula. Young Titus's fate took an unexpected turn when his father, Vespasian, was sent to serve in the distant and then wild province of Britannia. This event became a turning point. The young Titus was brought directly to the court of Emperor Claudius, where he was to receive a privileged court education, not just schooling, but an immersion into the complex world of imperial politics and intrigue. It was there, amidst gilded halls and whispering corridors, that Titus grew close to and befriended Claudius's own son, the young Britannicus. Their seemingly innocent friendship took on a tragic hue when Titus witnessed a horrifying act: Britannicus's poisoning. This treacherous death was coldly orchestrated by Claudius's cunning and ambitious wife, Agrippina, who stopped at nothing to clear the path to the throne for her own son, the future Emperor Nero. Legends claim that at the moment of tragedy, Titus, overcome with deep sympathy for his friend, even drank from the same ill-fated cup as Britannicus. This caused him a severe, debilitating illness, but fortunately, he survived, perhaps by the will of fate, which preserved him for future great achievements. Upon completing his extensive and diverse education, which included both courtly learning and the fundamentals of state administration, Titus immediately embarked on a military career, where his true potential was fully realized. From 57 to 59 CE, he bravely served as a military tribune in the harsh conditions of Germania, where he honed his command skills and learned the intricacies of army life, facing the challenges of the frontier lands. In 68 CE, his path led him through Britannia, where he seemingly arrived with reinforcements at a critical moment, during the brutal and bloody Boudiccan revolt. It was then that it became evident that Titus possessed not just talent, but a natural, intuitive aptitude for military affairs. He demonstrated exceptional bravery, strategic thinking, and the ability to inspire soldiers, foreshadowing a brilliant career as a commander. However, fortune truly smiled upon him and his entire family when, in 67 CE, his father, Vespasian, received a fateful appointment. He was tasked with suppressing a large-scale and extremely dangerous revolt in Judea. This was a mission of colossal importance for the stability of the entire Roman Empire. In this momentous campaign, Titus was entrusted with the command of one of the legions, a sign of immense trust and recognition of his growing military capabilities. Vespasian, demonstrating incredible efficiency and resolve, brilliantly accomplished his difficult task, laying the groundwork for the future greatness of his dynasty and his son. The military campaign seemed to suddenly halt when news arrived from Rome itself of Emperor Nero's death. Almost immediately after this event, Galba, who held the position of governor of Tarraconensian Spain, was proclaimed the new emperor of mighty Rome. Titus was immediately dispatched to the imperial capital to pay his respects and congratulate the new ruler. However, even before Titus could reach the shores of Italy, troubling news reached him. Galba had been brutally murdered by the Praetorian Guard, and Otho had already ascended to the imperial throne. At the same time, Vitellius was rapidly moving on Rome, with the clear aim of overthrowing Otho from his newly acquired power. To avoid any risk of being drawn into the escalating conflict or becoming a hostage of one of the warring factions, Titus prudently decided to sail back to Judea, where he rejoined his father. Upon arriving in Judea, he learned of Otho's fatal defeat at the hands of Vitellius and his subsequent suicide. When this astonishing news reached the stationed armies of Egypt and Judea, they immediately proclaimed Vespasian emperor, thereby challenging Vitellius's claims. Vespasian, accepting this significant nomination, entrusted the command of the military campaign in Judea to Titus, while he himself sailed to Alexandria, aiming to secure vital grain supplies and establish his control over Italy and Rome directly. Soon, Vitellius suffered a crushing defeat at the hands of the Danubian legions loyal to Vespasian, who had already sworn allegiance to him. Thus, in December 69 CE, Vespasian was officially proclaimed the new emperor by the Senate in Rome. Meanwhile, political and military tension in Judea continued to escalate, reaching a critical point. The main stronghold of the rebels, the well-fortified city of Jerusalem, remained under their control. Moreover, within the city limits, Jerusalem was torn apart by internal strife, as various factions desperately fought for power and influence. Recognizing the strategic importance of controlling the capital for the final suppression of the revolt, General Titus decided to begin a siege. Thus, on April 14, 70 CE, the long and bloody siege of Jerusalem began. After nearly 5 months of exhausting battles and hardships, on September 8, 70 CE, the ancient city was finally captured. The consequences of this siege were catastrophic, and the number of casualties was unfathomable. According to the accounts of Josephus, historian who personally observed the siege, approximately 1 million people died during the fierce street fighting and subsequent looting of the city. However, this claim appears incredibly exaggerated and has been decisively rejected by modern researchers, for, by their approximate calculations, the total population of the entire province of Judea during that historical period barely reached 1 million inhabitants. Nevertheless, the scale of destruction that befell the city was truly colossal. Approximately 100,000 people were enslaved, the magnificent temple was set ablaze, and a significant portion of the city's buildings were reduced to ruins. Only a fragment of the temple's supporting structure has survived to this day, and it is now known as the Western Wall. Although the fall and subsequent desolation of Jerusalem did not mark the complete end of the revolt, they certainly eliminated 2 key threats looming over the province. Upon the conclusion of the main military operations, Titus decided to entrust the final pacification of the province to his subordinates, while he himself prepared for his return. However, harsh winter conditions made sea travel impossible, forcing him to delay his departure in the east. During this period, he not only organized spectacular games in Caesarea but also undertook a significant journey to Zeugma on the Euphrates. It was there that he met the Parthian king, from whom Titus received a crown as a gift, a symbol carrying certain political connotations. En route to Alexandria, from where he planned his sea voyage back to Rome, the general stopped in ancient Memphis. The purpose of the visit was to participate in the sacred ritual of consecrating the Apis bull, revered by the Egyptians as a divine incarnation. During this ceremony, by tradition, Titus was to wear a diadem, a headdress that, in the Roman mind, was strongly associated with royal power and monarchical rule, causing certain concerns and prejudices. Unsurprisingly, soon after this event, alarming rumors began to spread among the military legions, hinting at his possible conspiracy or even open rebellion against his own father. Striving to immediately quash any speculation and dispel suspicions regarding his loyalty and intentions, Titus made a swift return to Rome, which occurred in 71 CE. Upon his arrival in the imperial capital, Titus was awarded a well-deserved triumph, the highest military honor. He ceremoniously entered the city, parading alongside his august father and younger brother, Domitian, which underscored the unity and succession of power. During this grand procession, numerous military spoils captured during the siege and capture of Jerusalem were put on public display, demonstrating the might of Rome and the grandeur of its victory. The people of Rome greeted their general with undisguised enthusiasm and jubilation, expressing their gratitude for the victories he brought. In commemoration of Titus's brilliant campaign in Judea and in honor of his triumph, a majestic triumphal arch was erected at one end of the Roman Forum. This monumental structure, though having undergone significant restoration work over the centuries, still stands today, serving as a reminder of glorious deeds of bygone eras. As offspring of the reigning emperor, Titus and his brother received exceptional powers. Both young men were granted tribunician power, alongside their father. Titus regularly addressed the Senate, representing Vespasian's interests. Both Titus and Domitian were given the honorary title of Caesar. Learning valuable lessons from the history of previous rulers, Vespasian clearly understood the vital importance of maintaining the unwavering loyalty of the Praetorian Guard. As long as this elite military unit remained loyal, any attempt at conspiracy faced insurmountable difficulties. To strengthen their allegiance, Emperor Vespasian appointed Titus as Praetorian prefect. Titus faithfully performed his duty to his father, acting as a reliable pillar of power, a kind of unspoken but powerful force behind the imperial throne. While holding this high office as prefect of the guard, Titus gained a rather noticeable, though controversial, reputation due to his decisive, and at times harsh, measures, such as the immediate execution of individuals suspected of treason. Nevertheless, it is undeniable that Vespasian fully trusted his son, evidenced by the fact that Titus held the consular office no less than 7 times during his father's 10-year reign. During his stay in Judea, Titus entered into a romantic relationship with Berenice, a noblewoman who was the sister of Agrippa II, a client king ruling in Judea. He brought her to Rome, and Berenice came to reside with him in the imperial palace. The Roman people, as is well known, always viewed members of foreign royal dynasties with suspicion, and this distrust intensified particularly when it concerned Eastern queens. Public opinion clearly disapproved of this union, and ultimately, Titus was forced to yield to pressure and send Berenice back. Titus's reputation, fueled by his decisive, sometimes harsh actions, and his widely publicized love affair with an Eastern queen, caused deep apprehension among the populace regarding his future role. Nevertheless, when Vespasian died in 79 CE, Titus was immediately proclaimed the new emperor of Rome. Many citizens feared that Titus would follow in Nero's footsteps. However, contrary to these grim premonitions, he proved to be a highly effective and wise ruler, earning the sincere affection of the Roman people. His very first decision as emperor was to abolish the treason trials, which had been reinstated and suspended intermittently since the reign of Emperor Tiberius. By eliminating these trials, significantly more citizens gained the ability to express their thoughts more freely, and the extensive network of informers and spies was substantially reduced. Notably, throughout Titus's entire reign, not a single senator was sentenced to execution. For months after Titus ascended to the imperial throne, on October 24, the Roman Empire faced a terrifying disaster. Mount Vesuvius erupted. Its furious eruption wiped out the prosperous cities of Pompeii and Herculaneum, claiming the lives of thousands of inhabitants. Emperor Titus, displaying extraordinary resolve, immediately began to mitigate the consequences of the tragedy. He delegated 2 former consuls to coordinate rescue operations and provide aid to the victims, and he personally donated significant funds from his treasury. The ruler visited the affected region twice, the first time immediately after the disaster, the second in the following year. During his second visit to the capital, Rome suffered a new misfortune. A large-scale fire engulfed the city. Although its destructive power was less than the Great Fire of 64 CE, many buildings were destroyed, leaving countless people homeless. In addition, at the same time, a plague epidemic broke out. And once again, Titus personally provided compensation to affected families and oversaw the reconstruction of destroyed structures. It was during this difficult period that Titus discovered his younger brother, Domitian, was plotting against him. However, the emperor refused to exile or execute Domitian, a decision that could later have fatal consequences for Titus. Even under Vespasian, an ambitious program for the construction of new structures had been initiated in Rome. The crowning achievement of this grand initiative was undoubtedly the Flavian Amphitheater, better known as the Colosseum. Its construction was finally completed in 80 CE, under Titus's rule. The solemn inaugural games dedicated to the amphitheater's opening lasted 100 days and were of unprecedented scale. Spectators enjoyed thrilling gladiatorial contests, dynamic chariot races, and even simulated naval battles, for which the arena was specially flooded. Wild animals were brought from the farthest corners of the empire to fight each other for the public's amusement. The Roman people had never seen such a spectacle. It was an entirely new level of entertainment and performance. Additionally, during the games, special wooden balls inscribed with prize names were thrown into the crowd, ranging from clothing items and sums of money to gold rings and even slaves. Titus also ordered the construction of new public baths, located in the immediate vicinity of the Colosseum, which were opened simultaneously with the amphitheater. It is probable that some fragments of Nero's Golden House were repurposed and integrated into the complex of Titus's baths. After his father, Vespasian, was deified 6 months after his death, Titus actively undertook the revival and strengthening of the imperial cult. This was done to further solidify the position of the Flavian dynasty and legitimize their claim to the imperial throne. After the solemn conclusion of the inaugural games, which marked the opening of the magnificent Colosseum, Emperor Titus set out for the Sabine lands. However, he was suddenly struck by an illness on the journey, forcing the ruler to stop at a nearby farm. Unfortunately, he never recovered from the ailment that afflicted him and soon died. According to accounts, his last enigmatic words before death were, "I have made but one mistake." Historians have not yet been able to definitively determine what era the emperor was alluding to. Nevertheless, among researchers, speculation about Domitian's involvement in his death is growing. In this context, Titus's mistake could have been his inability or unwillingness to take decisive action upon learning of the sinister designs Domitian harbored against him. Indeed, one surviving source directly states that Domitian poisoned Titus. However, the vast majority of historical evidence leans towards the version of the emperor's natural death, although it does indicate that Domitian left his sick brother without proper care, effectively condemning him to death. Titus ruled the Roman Empire for only 2 short years, after which the throne passed to his younger brother, Domitian.